Hi, good morning class. Welcome to my next lecture of Managerial Economics, that means lecture 9. In this lecture, we are going to have a discussion for the laws of returns to scale, which means this law which requires or which is implemented when the production is takes place for the long run and cost. In manufacturing a particular product, what type of cost that takes place or what type of cost included in factors of production or in the production of a particular commodity, so that is known as the cost. So in this session we are going to have a brief discussion on the law of returns to scale. That means here we are talking about the long run and the cost. So as in law of variable proportion, there are three stages: stage 1, stage 2 and stage 3. In the same way, if we talk about returns to scale, that means this is the stage where the production takes place in the long run. So in this law of returns to scale, there are three stages, that is increasing, constant and diminishing. Total output may increase proportionally, total output may increase more than proportion, and total output may increase less than proportion. So these are the three stages which takes place in the law of returns to scale, which applies in the long run, and it has three types of stages, that is constant, increasing and decreasing. If we talk about the constant returns to scale, in which the factor of input that we are giving for the production of a particular commodity, that is equal to the change in output. So when change in output is equal to the factor of input, when both are equal, so that stage is known as the constant stage, where nothing has changed, that is constant or remains the same, where the output ratio and the factor of input ratio are the same without change or no change, so that is known as the constant returns to scale. In this, factors of production are distributed according to the skilled labor, and in some of the industries this is not possible because it takes a hell lot of time and energy in distributing or proper allocation of resources according to the skilled that the labor is having. So this is the diagrammatic representation. You can see R is the curve, straight line curve, which tells us about the constant returns to scale. Here you can see the gap between the A, B and C is same. So this is the constant returns to scale. Increasing returns to scale. Output increases in greater proportion than the increase in input. When with the limited input you are having or you are taking maximum output with minimum input, so that stage is known as the increasing stage, where you are putting less input but obtaining maximum output, so that stage is known as the increasing returns to scale. In this, factors are properly utilized if you are doing the production for a large scale. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the increasing returns to scale, where you can see that the gap is going to increase. So that means with minimum input you can earn maximum output, so that is the stage of increasing returns to scale. Third is the decreasing returns to scale. Decreasing returns to scale, where the output is less but the input for the factors of production is more. That means you are in a condition of facing continuous loss for the company. So when output is increasing in a smaller proportion than the increase in input, when increase in input ratio is more than the ratio of getting output, This stage is known as the decreasing returns to scale. Now this is the diagrammatic representation of the decreasing returns to scale. Now what is the use of returns to scale in a production process? So in the production process, how it is helpful? So we can see that there are three stages of, or there are three phases of in production, that is first stage, second stage and the third stage. First is the increasing returns, and it is greater possibility of using specific machine with skilled labor. Second is the constant returns to scale, where the ratio between or the proportion between the input and output remains unchanged. And in the third is firm continue to expand, when the firm is in a position to expand its business. So that is stage known as the decreasing returns to scale, and this takes place with the inefficient control and coordination with the management and the working factor in the company. Now, how production function helps in managerial decision making. If we talk about the manager, then he has to manage all the things. That means if the company is going for the production of a particular commodity, then how much is the cost required for the production of that commodity, so that all cost should be analyzed in advance and should be estimated in advance, and then that cost should be compared with the investment of capital that the company is going to invest in the production of the commodity. So it helps in the analysis of the cost, that how much cost is going to be needed or how much cost is required for the production of a commodity. So that cost can be estimated with the help of the production function and with the law of returns to scale. And the second thing is, in this production function we can easily allocate the resources which are required for the production of a commodity, no matter whether that production of a commodity is for a long run or for a short run. But we should have an exact idea that how much cost is required if we go for the production of a commodity. And this also helps in the planning. Planning means in which we are in a position to plan for the future about the accurate demand. We have discussed about the demand forecasting, so that can be an example of capacity planning, which helps in deciding the future forecast of demand, that how much units we have to produce for a commodity, how much inventory we have to keep, and how much units we have to line up if there is any emergency in the market. So all these things can only be possible with the help of production function, which helps in taking the best or good managerial decision. Now the second topic is cost. Cost means the actual expenses that takes place in supplying the goods and services to the consumers. So the overall estimation is known as the cost. According to Campbell, production costs are those costs which must be received by resource owners in order to assume that they will continue to supply them in a particular time production. That means whatever the cost or whatever the expenses that are required in supplying goods and services to the consumer, so all that expenses are termed as cost. Actual cost. Actual cost means the expenses which actually takes place in labor, material, plant, building, machinery, equipment, traveling and transport. these expenses which are required for the production of a particular commodity, when all these expenses are included and the total we get, that cost is known as the actual cost, and this cost should be recorded in the books of account for the practical purpose, that in future whether the company should go for the production of the commodity or not. Direct cost. The unit of operation having a direct relationship with cost incurred in direct cost. It is directly and easily identifiable or are associated to a particular product or operation of a plant. For example, the salary of a manager in bank is a direct cost. Direct costs which have a direct expenses on the liabilities of the company. That means all the cost which occurs directly in the functioning of a commodity or in the functioning of a company, so all that cost is known as the direct cost. Suppose if you are working in any of the company and the company is giving salary, so your salary for the company is the direct cost. Indirect cost. The costs that are incurred on electricity, stationery and other office expenses like depreciation on building, decoration expenses whose source cannot be easily located are direct costs. So those costs which are not incurred directly but they are proved to be as a burden on the company, so that is known as an indirect cost. For example, if the company is not doing well but the company has to pay the electricity bill, stationery bill and all other office expenses the company has to bear, no matter whether the company is facing a loss or facing a profit. So that is known as the indirect cost. Fixed cost. For a certain given output, the costs which are fixed in volume are fixed cost. Fixed means which cannot be changed. That is known as the fixed cost. The costs which do not vary for a certain level of output are fixed costs, which include cost of managerial and administrative staff, depreciation of machinery and maintenance of land. So those costs which cannot be changed according to the change in output of the company, so that cost is known as the fixed cost. Variable cost, that means which keeps on changing with the total output. The costs that change with the change in the total output are known as the variable cost. For example, the cost of fuel and gas can be known as the variable cost, which keeps on changing according to the change in output of the company. Total cost. For the production of goods and services, the required total value of resources represents total cost. Average cost, it is obtained by dividing the total cost by the total output. So average cost is when is total cost is divided by the total output, so that is known as the average cost. So for the production of every goods or services for the company has to know the total cost, that this is the total cost which takes place if the company is going for the production of a specific product. Again, in the total cost, it is categorized under two categories, that is average cost and marginal cost. Average cost can be obtained by dividing the total cost with the output, and marginal cost is when the total cost is applied is divided by one additional unit. That means when you produce any extra unit, then that cost that takes place in producing that extra unit, that is known as the marginal cost. The extra cost which takes place in the production of an extra unit, that is known as the marginal cost. Short run cost. The size of the firm being the same, so short run cost varies with the variation of output. When at least one of the factors of production is completely fixed, then the time period is short run. In short run, one factor of production has to be fixed. That means that cannot be changed according to the situation of the market, so that is known as the short run cost. long run cost. These are the costs which are incurred on the fixed assets like plant, building and machinery. So those costs which require heavy investment in the production of a particular commodity like on plant, building, machinery, so that is known as the long run cost. For example, change in the quantity of production, expanding company's business, entering or leaving a market. So under these three situations, if a company goes, then it has to bear the long run cost. Determinants of cost. So what are the factors which helps in determining the cost of a particular product? Law of returns operation, that means at which level you are going to do the production of a commodity, whether you are going for a long run or for a short run. If you are going for a short run, that means the total cost is less, and if you are going for the production of a long run, the total cost may be changed or it becomes more. Size of the plant. Here plant, we are talking about the size of the firm which is planning to produce a commodity. Time period, up to what time or within which, how much time you are going to produce a commodity. Prices of factors of production. What are the factors of production that are needed in the production of a commodity? What are the prices of those factors of production? For example, if you are going to manufacture anything, for that you require labor, you require plant, you require machinery. So prices may differ according to the change in the economic environment. So that is known as the price for the factors of production. Technology. What technology that you are going to use for the production of a commodity, so that is known as technology. Size of the product, that means what is the size of the product, whether it is small or whether it is big. If the size of the product is big, then it require more cost because it require heavy packing cost as well, and the transportation cost also get increased. So these are some of the factors which are help in determining the cost of a particular product which a company is going to produce. So this is all about for this lecture. Now we will meet in the next lecture. Till then, stay safe and have a nice day. Thank you.